Hello and welcome back to another episode of Old Man Plays Minecraft Bedrock, and today I am hoping to build a not insignificant portion of the Titanic. What have I got on me? I have emeralds, so let's just put the emeralds away for now, because I plan to build as much of the solid black side walls as I possibly can for now. Now I have a fair amount of good old black concrete, so I'm going to use all this up as best as I can for now. Do I not have any red concrete? Oh, I do, yes. Just in case of emergencies. I don't think I'll need more than a stack or two of it. But there is the issue that I do need to build up. Do need to build up this line here for a bit. So let's just carry on here in a straight line. So essentially this is going to be me building a lot of blocks, placing a lot of blocks, although I will probably run out of concrete at some point. We'll see how we get on. Don't jump down, don't want to ruin the crops. We're not going to be on See a Squid, Kill a Squid today, except I have just seen a squid, so I'm going to kill it. The aim is basically to do as much building as I can. Let's get rid of these torches because they're all in the way. Now I need to clear as far back as 4912. Thankfully, I have done all the maths off screen, so I won't be boring you too much with just counting out numbers. Which is faster? Is this overall faster? So if I say, right, this is at, right, I'm going to time the next 10 seconds how many blocks I place. So in 3, 2, 1, go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, it would help. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. So I placed 37 in 30 seconds. Let's see how I get on doing it other ways. So if I come back this way, oh, this is much faster. This is much faster. There's no arguing with that. The only problem is I'm going to walk off the end. Right. So if I walk backwards now, so this needs to come out as far as 4912. We'll do these. That's that end of it. Now I can just walk back and place it a concrete. I think I have a horrible suspicion I'm going to run out of concrete a lot earlier than I thought I was going to run out of concrete. Let's sleep. We don't want any mobs to start ruining our lives. Let's have some coffee as well, shall we? Lovely, delicious, cheap Aldi coffee mixed in with this. Well, it's actually a blend I drink at the moment because I used to think the reason why when I had a coffee and biscuits in the morning, I used to think that the reason why my heart started pounding so much was because of all the sugar in the biscuits, because I am diabetic. And so I was consuming a lot of biscuits. My breakfast usually consists of like 8 or 9 biscuits, British meaning of the word biscuits. Although this morning I did actually have cookies. Yeah, Americans think we call cookies biscuits, whereas actually we call biscuits biscuits and we call cookies cookies. There is a difference between the two. But anyway. Oh, cat. I would normally have about 7 or 8 biscuits dunked in coffee for breakfast. Did that for years and years and years and years and years. And every morning, within about 20 minutes, my heart was absolutely pounding. Absolute nightmare. Hated it. I felt it like I was felt like I was having a heart attack, essentially. 5081 is how far we come this way. And then recently I went off coffee for a long time. I switched to tea. I became a tea drinker. I've gone through over 1,000 tea bags in the last year. Because I started to actually quite like tea. I've never liked tea before in my life, really. Not your typical Brit who's tea obsessed, as everyone likes to think we are. Yeah, so I switched to tea, but then my mum came to visit for Christmas, and she brought with her a jar of decaf coffee, and she left it when she left. So I thought, I'll try coffee and biscuits again, but I'll go easy on myself. I'll have decaf coffee. So I had a decaf coffee with biscuit, and absolutely no pounding heart at all whatsoever. So now what I do is, if I want coffee with a bit of a kick in it, but not too much, I'll essentially make myself half and half decaf mixed in with ordinary coffee. And I'm only talking like cheap, nasty coffee, like supermarket coffee. I've never really liked fancy posh coffees or anything like that. But I've run out of black already, so that's a good start, isn't it? Yeah, so that's what I'm drinking now, essentially. I'm drinking half and half black and ordinary coffee. Sorry, not black and ordinary, decaf and ordinary coffee. I do know words. I used to know words. So I don't have any converted concrete. How much I do have? Fair amount of squiddy ink. Let's get rid of the red for now, because we're going to go black concrete converting. I'm going to need some temporary building blocks, or should I just use ladders? Where did I put ladders? Do I not even have any ladders? Apparently not. Yeah, ladders. Ladders are better. Ladders are better. I'll make some ladders. Let's do the converting over here out of everyone else's way. Simplest way of converting really is to tower up above water, as we discovered previously. I don't know why, but my microphone keeps redlining, and I have no idea what is causing that. I've even turned down the gain on it. Look, it's redlining a lot. I bet this video comes out very, very distorted. Now, when I've converted concrete like this before on a realm, I've found that the realm has often introduced a certain element of lag to it, which meant that suddenly I would place some concrete powder, but it won't have registered that I'd already jumped up, and then I will materialize inside the concrete powder, and then it will just push me off the edge. It was very, very frustrating. Oh, blimey. We're getting polygon collision on now. We're so far away. The wood is phasing in out of the sea. Oh, we're in the clouds. I can't remember what the build height limit is these days. It's 320, isn't it? Well, we'll stop here because it's actually quite scary to be this high up in Minecraft, even though I know that I'm surrounded by sea and I can just do this. There we go. So, next part of the job. Just mine, mine, mine. Now, sometimes the mining is faster than the concrete converts, so you end up with powder back again. Finish that coffee. So we'll see how much we actually get back, and although it's looking like every single one is mining. That's good. That's good. That's good. Well, we should have 3 stacks of black concrete when we've done this, and then we'll do some more. Much left? Loads. Let's get them before they start despawning. Well, blimey, we've done over 2 stacks. Well, nearly 2 stacks. That's good. Yeah. So another interesting thing that happened to me recently is that on Friday I was involved in my first ever car crash, which was quite a bizarre situation to find myself in. I had my son in the car with me at the same time. We are both fine. No damage caused to us at all. At least not physical damage. I think my son, who was already an anxiety bag of nerves, it's got even more anxiety now. I feel like every time he's getting close to getting over his anxiety, something genuinely terrible happens to him. Or at least genuinely scary happens to him. I think I mentioned the other week that he has paranoia about nuclear bombs attacking where we live in Sheffield. And so we were just out having a nice soothing walk in late evening the other week, and what do we know? There's suddenly a bright glow in the sky, then a massive rising cloud of steam, which Tommy thought was a nuclear bomb. I had to reassure him, no, it's just something happening at the steelworks that was just beyond the horizon where we were looking at. But anyway, so that was good for his anxiety. And then I was taking him to school on Friday morning, and I was driving along, and the car in front of me had stopped to turn right, so I stopped, obviously. And I noticed at that time that the van immediately behind me had stopped very, very close to me behind, which I thought was, okay, that's a bit unusual, but okay. Anyway, other car got out of the way, so I then proceeded, and at that point, about another 200 yards along the road, I needed to turn right. Now, if you're not familiar with UK roads, turning right, you have to wait for oncoming traffic in the other direction, because we drive on the left, as you probably know. So I was waiting for oncoming cars in the other direction to clear the way so that I could then make my right-hand turn. This time, the van did not stop in time before me. Now, thankfully, he was able to make an avoiding manoeuvre at the last second, which meant it was just a glancing blow, so it crunched my back left corner of my vehicle. He was able to swerve onto the pavement, and it crunched his front right corner. For some reason, the damage to his huge, giant, modern van, 2020 plate van, was far more significant than what you can only describe to my 22-year-old, tiny little, lightweight Japanese car. It cracked my lights, my light cluster, damaging a grand total of 1 bulb, which I've had to replace for the cost of £1.35, and it dented my bumper. And I was able to just bend the bumper back. And I'm very pragmatic. I don't care if my car has got good paintwork or has not been dented or damaged or anything. You know, if it drives, it gets me from A to B. I don't care. Like, as long as it's legal and safe, I'm fine with it. So yeah, that was a bit of a shock. I'm gonna have to replace the light fitting. But I've already been on eBay. It looks like you can get them for about 50 quid, and I can probably replace it myself. So yeah, that was an interesting thing, but obviously I didn't make Tommy then go to school having been in a car crash on the way to school. That would have just felt a bit unnecessarily cruel. So yeah, that's my first ever car crash, and I'll be honest, right, as soon as it happened, once it happened, at the moment it happened, I was quite shaken. The adrenaline got pumping, even though the impact had been so light, it was barely any worse than going over a heavy pothole or a speed bump. You know, it was nothing particularly bad. I mean, I didn't lose control of the car. I just had my foot on the brake, and as far as I know, I still have my foot on the brake at the end. Unfortunately, my son, who was immediately shocked, he was very upset for about a minute, the first minute. But yeah, I got out, took photos, and yeah, we're just gonna sort it ourselves. There's no point in claiming on insurance for the amount of damage that's been caused. It'd only make us have to pay a lot more insurance over the next few years if we were to do that. So I didn't get all of it back that time. Yeah, there's a lot of weird things happen on roads which I don't often always understand why they happen. I've got a few driving bugbears. Now, I don't claim to be the world's best driver, but I think I'm better than quite a lot of drivers from what passengers have told me. But it's just a few quirks like that really wind me up. I don't understand why people do them. So like when you're on a single carriageway road and it then splits into dual carriageway, then you get an extra lane. People, I've noticed, will often, bearing in mind at that point, you just have a choice of which lane to go onto. You don't have to change lanes to get into either of the lanes because you are literally at the decision point of, right, the road splits into two lanes. Do I go into the left lane? Do I go into the right lane? You know, it's your choice. So what I don't understand are the people who just, by default, automatically, they will just, by default, go into the left-hand lane, proceed in the left-hand lane for about 50 to 100 yards, and at that point, they're like, oh, I actually need to go into the right-hand lane, don't I? And then they'll indicate and just about go into the right-hand lane. What I find particularly frustrating about this is I'm usually following one of these Berks, and so I've been like a safe distance behind them. I've then gone straight into the right-hand lane because that's the lane I want. But I haven't had enough time to accelerate and overtake them before they suddenly decide, oh no, I want the right-hand lane actually. And so they then indicate, don't bother looking, and we'll just pull straight into the right-hand lane. And as I'm bearing down upon them, causing me to then put on the brakes. These people should basically be shot. Definitely shot. And if not shot, they should definitely have their licenses taken off them. Or at least be pulled over by the police and have a jolly good talking to say, look, what you're doing is dangerous and you're annoying and I think you're a terrible driver. The other ones who wind me up are the ones who drive more than 10 miles per hour below the speed limit. Like, the blanket speed limit for a built-up area in this country is 30 miles per hour. Sorry if you're in Wales. But in England, for me, it's 30 miles per hour. So if a road in a built-up area or in a town has actually got a speed limit of 40 miles per hour, there was a reason for this. And that reason is council road and traffic planners have decided that in order to keep traffic moving efficiently in their area, they would like you to drive at 40 miles per hour, or at least approaching 40 miles per hour, to meet the traffic conditions that are encountered on that road. So if you find yourself on a 40 miles per hour road doing 28 miles per hour, you are causing problems. You are, and I know what they immediately come back and say. It's like, well, it's a speed limit. It's not a speed target. No. If they wanted you to drive at under 30 miles per hour on this road, the speed limit would be 30. If they want you to drive at above 30 and below 40, they make the speed limit 40. Same goes for if it's a 50 road. They want you to drive above 40, but below 50. Otherwise, they would make the speed limit 40. There's a particular bit on my journey that I have to take my son to school where it's a 40 road for about a mile as we pass through an area of town, and then towards the end it goes out into essentially the countryside, so it becomes national speed limit, which is 60. And then a little bit further along, about a quarter of a mile further along, it then splits into a dual carriageway, so then it becomes a 70 road. The number of people who will be driving along the section that's 40 miles per hour, and they'll be doing 28, 30 miles per hour along that whole section, who then, when we get to the national speed limit section, stay at 30 miles per hour, and even when we get to the 70 section, stay at 70. That just winds me up. It's like you are driving dangerously slowly for the speed of the road now. Yeah. I used to love driving. I passed my driving test depressingly late in life. One of my biggest regrets is that I did not learn to drive at a sensible age. I should have learned to drive at 17. Instead, I learned to drive when I was 38. That's when I passed my driving test. And yeah, I mean, I've now got about to get my 7 years no claims discount in just a couple of months' time, which I believe most insurance companies see as the highest level of no claims discount for your insurance. For people who don't know, no claims discount means that every year you don't make a claim on your insurance, you get an additional discount on your insurance going forward the next year. And usually most insurance companies will recognise 7 years as being the maximum level of no claims discount you can get. Anyway, I can't remember what I was saying. So, but yeah, I learned to drive depressingly late in life. It's held me back so many times. There are so many jobs I could have gone for, so many activities in life I could have done, so many meetings with friends I could have gone to, all missed out on because I grew up in a tiny little village with barely functioning, let alone adequate, barely functioning public transport. Yeah, we had a bus that came. Well, when I was a young teenager, the bus was reasonably adequate because the village I grew up in had remnants of its coal mining history, and there were a lot of old age pensioners who relied on the bus service. So we had buses in either direction to the nearest villages every hour in each direction. So effectively, there was a half-hourly bus service. As a lot of these old age pensioners sadly moved on to pastures higher up, shall we put it? You're trying to say they died? Yes, I am trying to say they died. But as a lot of these old age pensioners basically died off, we ended up in a situation where there was less and less call for the bus service because the younger families that had moved into the village were far more affluent, and they all had like their Range Rovers and driveways and all that lot. So it was only really the kids of my age who actually suffered by the sudden lack of bus service. And we were few and far between. I mean, there were less than 400 houses in the entire village. So there weren't many kids around who needed bus service, and a lot of them would just have parents who would give them lifts everywhere. I daren't ask my dad for a lift because he was a very angry, grumpy man at the best of times, let alone if you're asking him to do something for you. Oh, do excuse me. Bit of windy pops there. Coffee repeating. Oh, I have run out of the concrete, so I need to go and make more of the concrete. So yeah, I was essentially just trapped in this village, and I was very foolish. I didn't learn how to drive, and that's on me. I mean, it didn't help that my dad did say, "Oh, I'll pay for your driving lessons, and then I'll get you a car." And I know that's entitlement, but at the same time, he then did neither. And the car he did get me, he just decided he was going to drive himself, and I never once got to actually drive that car. Not once. I don't think I ever once even sat in the driving seat of it. So yeah, I mean, he bought himself a car, claimed it was for me, then just, drove it himself. I am going to run out of gravel very soon, aren't I? Sand, 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 sand. Let's sleepy pies. He said he'd pay for my driving lessons when I was 17, and he just never did. And the irony there was then in order to have any kind of money for myself, I had to get a job, and getting to a job was a nightmare because I then had to pay for taxis, which was, at the time, bearing in mind I was making £3 odd an hour, which moved up to eventually to about £4 an hour. Oh, I need to convert to concrete, don't I? So bearing in mind I was making £3.70 an hour. The taxi just to work cost usually £5.40. Sometimes it would tick over the £5.70 depending on just how sensitive the meter was in the taxi. So I was paying almost, and then I would have to pay for a taxi back, obviously. Of course, well, I didn't have to always pay for a taxi back. If I hung around in town enough, if I walked like about a couple of miles and hung around in town for the bus service to start working, because it was an early morning job on a Sunday as well. But if I waited long enough for the bus service to start running, it would then only cost me like £2.50 to get back home. But usually it would cost another £5.40 to get home if I was just tired out and just wanted to go home. So I was essentially, my first 3 hours of wage every time I went to work was just the transport to and from work. And then after that, obviously, tax and insurance. I would basically, for an 8-hour shift at the sandwich factory, I was lucky if I actually got to keep £15 per working day. So that was fun. So I never had any chance of being able to buy my own driving lessons after board was taken out and board and lodging, and just actually wanting to have a bit of a life outside of just going to work, going to sixth form and all that lot. So yeah, I had a grand total of £15. That was nice because I could only work on Sundays. The place where I worked, they didn't have Saturday shifts, and I couldn't do weekdays because I was still a full-time student. So I basically had £15 a week to live on. Oh yeah, out of which, of course, my school bus fare had to come out of. So yeah, how depressing. I've forgotten how poor I was back then. I think I'm poor now. Well, that's nothing compared to what I was back in the late 90s. So yeah, I never had a chance to learn how to drive. And then once I went to university, everything was all on campus or all in walking distance. And then it just kind of spiraled, in my mid-20s. I just kind of always ended up, mid to late 20s, I just kind of always ended up with jobs close to home and stuff like that. And yeah. And I moved to Sheffield, where pretty reasonable bus service, actually. I wish I'd grown up in a city. I probably never would have cared about all the time I wasted waiting for buses. But there was one particular bus stop in a town near Nottingham, a town called Eastleigh. There was a bus stop there where I once worked out that I'd spent more time waiting at that bus stop for buses that didn't that either were late or didn't come at all. I spent more time at that bus stop than I actually did watching TV or watching films, because it was just horrendous, the bus service there. And that's where I stayed for a while. I lived there off and on for about 2-3 years, and just to get to the nearest town, Loughborough, even that bus journey was horrendously slow. Yeah, so the hours of my life, when I look back on those times now, and I thought, God, if I just had a car, I could have jumped in the car whenever I liked and been in Loughborough in 15 minutes. Do I make another stack up? Yeah, I might as well convert a lot of this now. I've lost a block. Oh, it's there. Yeah, so the lesson here, kids, is learn to drive. You will not regret it. It is a very important, valid life skill. Oh, I've played 300 days. Interesting. Didn't notice. Yes, driving is a very good skill, and there are cleaner options available if you are environmentally minded. I drive a very small Japanese car built in 2003, Toyota Yaris. I think it's got a 1-litre engine, and yeah, it's sometimes a little bit underpowered, but I enjoy driving it. It gets me around. My first car was another Japanese car, a bigger one. It was a Nissan Almera. That was a manual car, and I loved driving that car. It had got a fair amount of power to it. It was a 1.4-litre engine, and it knew how to go. It was pretty fast, but even this 1-litre engine one, yeah, it's a bit nippy depending on how I drive it. The only downside to it is that it is an automatic transmission, which wasn't my choice, but I'm not getting into the details of that. Okay, there's no harm in getting into the details of that, actually. It's just that my wife, who didn't drive at the time, thought she would not be able to learn how to drive a manual car, because she tried several times in the past. She was in her late 40s already, and she just thought, no, if I'm going to learn to drive, I'll make it as simple and easy for myself as possible, so I'm going to get myself an automatic. Skip on about 6 months or so, and and then my car failed its MOT pretty drastically. So it was decided we'd just have the one car in the family. So that ended up becoming the family car, and then again my wife is no longer here in this house. Decided that, well, I'm never going to learn how to drive, so you can have the car. So fine. 319. We are at world height limit. Nom 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 nom. Isn't nearly bedtime? Nearly. Right, we'll convert this lot, and then I think we'll call that quits for now, I think. Because I need to look at why is my microphone redlining so much. I bet the sound quality on this episode is worse than usual. Another type of driver I don't like is people who don't get in the right lane for the roundabout. Like, you'll be driving along on a 2-lane dual carriageway and someone decides, oh, well, I'm going straight on at the roundabout. Bearing in mind, it's a spiral roundabout where it's got 2 lanes for going left, and then 2 lanes for going straight forward, and then 2 lanes for going right. They'll say, right, well, I'm going straight on, and I just know that roundabouts, if you want to go straight on, you need to get into the left-hand lane. So they'll get into the left-hand lane, go straight over the roundabout, and then immediately go indicate to pull back out into the right-hand lane again. I'm like, no, you didn't need to do that. You just made your life more complicated. Look at the arrows. The arrow said you could have stayed in your lane and gone straight forward. Why did you make life harder for yourself and more dangerous for everyone else around you? People. It would be so much simpler if I was the only person allowed to drive. That's definitely... Well, it'd be simpler for me. Wouldn't be simpler for everyone else. Oh, dory. Not many left. See how many we got back. See how many went missing. I don't think we've lost any of them. Did we get them all? We should now have... Oh, no. I don't know what's happened there. So we've lost one. 6 came back as powder. Ah, there's one. So we'll just get these final 6. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right then. We should now have... Right, we should have a... Oh, where's one gone missing again? Right, we have made depressingly little progress on building the giant black concrete sidewalls. I had hoped we would get further than we have done. How are we doing for sand? Sand we're doing semi-alright for. Gravel we're doing terrible for. Red concrete, not too bad. Black concrete, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stacks. Plus we can make another 9 stacks. So, it'd be nice if we could finish that wall next episode. But for now, it is time to wish you all goodbye. So don't forget, if you didn't like my driving, car crash, etc. rant, don't forget to dislike and unsubscribe. Everyone else, I'll see you tomorrow. Wow. Ah. Haha.